awkward. I have to do that enough as it is. Don't need an echo.
Super
Um,
funny. Now, I did get something on my side that said it was going to a third party stream. So the content of this meeting is being sent to YouTube.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, YouTube. Yeah, yeah. That was
Need
feels
that.
like it was one of the first emails with your agents. Oh, hold on, need to get rid of that. Yeah, so yeah, I think that was like at the bottom of one of my first emails with your agents. But
Oh,
yeah,
got it.
yeah, yeah. So we're ready to go. So
Cool.
hello everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have Chelle Ramos, best known for playing Shira, aka Fake Stephanie in The Walking Dead, Heather in The Gifted, Sarah Williams in The Purge, Deputy Terry Plumb in Outer Banks, Detective Alvarez in Saints and Sinners, Zoe Cho in Valor, Jamie Roberts in Twisted Metal, Joey Truman in Hangman, Amy in Born Again Virgin, Andrea Black in Tell Me Your Secrets, and Delia in Cloak and Dagger. How are you today, Chelle?
I am great. And now it's just like that was like a full resume reminder of the things that I've done. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of great stuff. It's a pleasure to be talking to you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, first of all, Chelle, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into acting?
Yeah. I started off as a dancer. My mom had me in classes since I was like a little kid, and she told me that she knew that I was gonna be something on the stage because when I was 3 years old, the curtains closed because I was at a recital. The curtains closed, and I came out and I waved to my mom, "Hi." So she knew at a very young age that I was in some way, shape, or form going to be in entertainment. Um, and then I worked I had like a 9 to 5 job until I was like 20 years old. And then I was like, I can't do this like box. Praise to all the people that can, but I just couldn't. And I was on vacation with my family, and we went to Universal Studios, the theme park in Orlando, Florida. And they had an audition for this Egyptian mummy princess. And again, mind you, I'm on vacation. So I audition. I have no idea what I'm doing because this is my first like acting audition, quote unquote. I only have like dance experience and did the audition, felt like an absolute loon. I had no idea what I was doing. And then 2 weeks later, they called me and said, "Hey, we want to offer you a contract." Now, I wasn't living in Orlando. I was living in Pensacola, Florida. And so I remember I was like, "Oh, okay, yes, I'll accept the job." And I'm a dispatcher over at my 9 to 5 job in Cox Cable in Pensacola. And then so that was, and then I ended up like I put in my 2 weeks at my dispatcher job, and I moved to Orlando, and I was like, okay, let's see what happened. What happened? So my first job as an actor, my paid actor was I was a theme park actor at Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like, what an opportunity as well. A theme park, Universal, like, must have been like just an incredible experience.
Oh yeah, and also like I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, all right, well, we're just gonna, it's like it made me feel like, okay, I just gotta trust myself throughout this whole process, even though I was scared as heck. But it was very fun. I made a lot of really good friends at Universal because I worked there for about 3 years until I moved into TV and film.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's brilliant. Can you tell me how you were originally cast in The Walking Dead?
Yeah, so that's whenever I moved to Atlanta. And there was a lot of buzz going on because there was a lot of really great tax incentives that were going on in Atlanta, Georgia. And so again, the same thing happened. And I there was an audition for this commercial called the Georgia Lottery. And again, I was on vacation again. And then I ended up booking this Georgia Lottery commercial. Long story short, I ended up moving and I booked it, and but I ended up living there. Well, the big thing that all everybody was talking about was The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead. And that was in the very first like season. And I don't know, I didn't at that time, I didn't know very much about like comic books. I didn't know that like I was just a little bit naive like when it came to all of that. And then, I was in some acting classes, and I had some friends, and that, people were talking about Walking Dead. And then I started getting auditions from my agent for The Walking Dead. Now, I didn't grow up watching like scary stuff or like any type of zombie stuff. So then when I like saw what the content was on this audition, I was like, ah, didn't know if I wanted to actually do it. But then, like when everybody's talking about this new hot show, and then it's like becomes like number one after the first and second season comes out, um, then I was like, okay, like this is something that I actually really want to be a part of. So I think that that's when the talk and the noise started happening with The Walking Dead. Then that's why I was like, it made me more interested because if your audience likes and it becomes like the new hottest show, it like naturally you're like, well, what is this about? Since so much of the world follows this comic book series, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the popularity, of course, I mean, there was a lot of time to get prepared for that because, I mean, you were in the last season of the show. So, that it was just hugely popular for such a long time.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it was like, yeah, it took me 11 years to actually be on the show, but I'm really happy the way that it happened because I was in 7 episodes, so I got to be a part of the family for a longer period of time than just a one episode, show. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Were you a fan of the Walking Dead series or franchise prior to your casting? I mean, you mentioned, of course, you knew it was hugely popular.
yes. I for the first six season, I was like, I couldn't wait to keep on binging it. Like it would, because it's a really good story, and anything that has like a really good story, it doesn't matter, I guess, too much about the content because naturally you just want to keep watching because of the storyline. And the creators did a really, really good job of really creating a really good storyline. I had what got me a little bit like, ooh, that's a little bit much, is in I think it was the sixth season when Negan had his bat and all that was very difficult. So, but then I got back into it, of course. But yeah, oh yeah, I became a huge fan after like I started seeing like what the content was from the audition and then versus watching it on TV. But I will say I wasn't a part of the comic book that I just that's I'm from a very small town, and or maybe I'm just not a part of like the comic book world. So I didn't know about any comic books. So, but I wasn't a part of the comic. I wasn't a fan of the comic book series because I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair. And yeah, that season six finale leading into the season seven premiere with Negan's debut, just mind blowing, especially for Glenn and Abraham.
Golly, just oh my goodness. It was very, very difficult to watch. I'm surprised that what they showed was allowed on TV. Hard for me to watch anyways.
Yeah, absolutely, completely fair. What were you told about the crew, about the character of Shira when you were on set about to shoot your first scene?
Can you say that? It broke up a little bit. Can you say that one more time?
What were you told about the crew of The Walking Dead when you were on set about to shoot your first scene about the character of Shira?
So it's actually really funny. When I got the actual initial audition, it was I thought it was going to be a very, very small part because on there, I believe it said something like woman number two or something like that. But then I spoke to my agent and he said, no, this is larger than what you're thinking that it was. But they sent over because so am I allowed to say spoilers on here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a few years.
Okay, okay.
If they haven't seen it, they're lazy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So over at Commonwealth, there was when Eugene was speaking to a woman named Stephanie over the intercom, over the intercom, or what is that, the walkie?
The
They never got to
walkie-talkie, I think.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They never got to see her face. They needed me, so for the actual audition, they needed me to sound like this character, just the voice. And I was like, oh gosh, that's going to be a little bit difficult. Again, and everything was under wraps. You know, Walking Dead is very good. I think that's why they have such a great following, is because everything you have to sign NDAs, like you cannot talk about it. Um, so then when I listened to the girl's voice, I was like, oh, like I'm going to be impersonating someone else. But that wasn't revealed until later on, whenever I was on set. They didn't give me Marvel and Walking Dead. They're really like tight knit about stuff like that. Um, but yeah, but then whenever I got to set the very first day, that's whenever they were kind of explaining to me like who my character is, and I'm not actually the real Stephanie. And I was like, I was a little bit down because I was like, oh man, like this could be like a great love story between me and Josh. Like that's what I was thinking. But I'm so glad the way that it turned out because I like to play bad guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely really interesting to reference it. It's actually funny going back to the woman number two thing. That was how you were credited at the end of your first episode.
Ah,
Chelle Ramos, woman number two.
right? Isn't that funny? So funny.
Yeah. I was half tempted in the introduction to go Shira, aka fake Stephanie, aka woman number two, but I was like, might be a
Ah,
bit too far.
right. I got all these names.
Yeah, yeah. Just plus, it might be hard for some people to get because it's like one episode, a random, credit at the end, woman number two.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Funny how it all turned out, but yeah, so obviously about the big twist, like how when were you told by the crew about the twist that Shira wasn't Stephanie? Like were you told when you were cast, or did was it only when that episode was being filmed?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I think it actually came out. So I think I found out, and then I obviously like went to talk to some of the creators and the producers of the show. But when I read, because they gave me the full script of each episode, and then there were a couple of things that made me hint around like, oh, this is not really. Because if I'm not mistaken, now this is a little while ago, but if I'm not mistaken, some people that were a part of like the Commonwealth side, they addressed me as Shira, not Stephanie, in the script itself. I honestly can't remember, but I don't think there was like an actual sit down with like the creators. I don't think it was that.
Yeah, it's been a little time since I've rewatched. I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure about that. If I remember right, I think Eugene and others like Princess started seeing Shira hanging out with more people that they didn't normally see her hang out with, like
Correct.
like Lance Hornsby and a couple of
Yes.
others.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm. Yep,
so
yep, yep, yep.
that might have been it, but yeah, it's just I mean poor Eugene, tells her he loves her and then she just disappears, like so many people have been there.
Oh my gosh, I know. Poor Eugene. He just, oh, yeah. He's heartbroken. The one time that he steps out and opens his heart, like it gets crushed by Shira. So not awesome for him, but
Yeah, at least they found the real Stephanie afterwards.
right, exactly. Love
Yeah,
story.
yeah, for sure. What are the similarities you see between yourself and Shira, if any?
I I am pretty good about even like when I was playing the character Shira and I, one of our biggest simulators, I think observancy, like really just like seeing like what's going on in my own environment and being able to like to pick up and like clocking that, clocking this. Like I'm just a very like observant person and I remember a lot of things. And I think that in the position that Shiro was in, when you're in two different worlds, Commonwealth and then also trying to play this part to fit in with Eugene's crew, you definitely have to have a bit of a maybe like this bit of like an avatar, like that avatar. So I don't know. I think that I'm able to also be a bit of a chameleon depending on like the environment that I am. Not that I change who I am, but you just kind of like you just kind of like are moldable, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're adaptable, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like yeah, that's really interesting, you know. It's but that's really cool. Like, what was your reaction when you found out you had been cast in The Walking Dead?
I called up my mom and I was like, finally, 11 years later. My mom and dad, like I'm very, very close with my family. And they, at the very beginning, when Walking Dead, I started auditioning for the show, first and second season. I would call them up, because this is a new hot show, Walking Dead. So like 11 years in the making. That was really, really fun. And also um the type of character that I got to be Shira, like not how I ended it, but how like I played this. It was a bit of like more of like a nerdy, more of like a, what is that? Just a quiet, meek type. I don't get to play the, it's at least up until now I haven't got to play those kinds of roles. So that was super exciting for me. And then it was so funny to me that like I ended up as the characters that I usually play, which is like the bad guy, the detective, cop, like that type of, which I love doing those too, because that I just have like that, I think that presence that I have. But that one was really fun. They put the glasses on me. I had this like, I don't think I've ever worn a dress on set before. I had this dress with this sweater, and it was so fun. But that, I think that was my initial feelings, is like that, like I was very excited because it's very different than what I've got to play in the past.
Yeah, it was almost like Shira was a perfect marriage as a character between the characters you like normally kind of play and then a very different character at first.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I thought they did very smart with matching me up with what they think Eugene would like. Because they had this awesome opportunity. They could, Commonwealth is sending me out to go, try and take over Eugene's crew, and they've never seen what the girl on the mic look, or girl on the walkie looked like. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you tell your parents for 11 years it was a hot news show?
Ah, I played some other like roles. Not that I forgot about Walking Dead. It's just like, it didn't come about. So I had some other fun things that I was playing, like Outer Banks and Purge and other stuff like that. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was mostly joking, you know, just
oh,
the way
got it.
just the way you told them for the first 2 years it was a hot news show. So I was like,
Yes.
did you tell them for 11 years?
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's brilliant. So we've given a lot of freedom with coming up with the performance for Shira, or did the Walking Dead crew already have it in their mind how they wanted her portrayed?
I think when productions give you a bit of like, I think of it as, you have this whole picture or this whole canvas, and there's like these outlines of what characters are. When productions can give you an outline, and then you as an actor have the creative freedom to kind of like bring it to life, add the colors, add the shading. That's whenever you really get a really amazing show. And that's what I don't do well with the micromanaging someone, always like, say it like this, do it like this, turn right here. It really confines an artist to not bring their own creativity, and then they're so scared to do right and wrong, so that it's not an actual human being. It almost comes off as like a robot. And I
Yeah,
see that sometimes on shows, whenever, shows are, you can kind of feel that an artist is kind of boxed in. And I didn't feel like that at all with Walking Dead. Like, there was so in episodics, you have it you there's directors that come. You have a different director in each episode. And I remember there was so many times, every single one of those directors, they would come in, if they wanted me to change something, they would do a little bit of a tweak, but they would back off. And then you have to trust, as a director, you have to trust that your hired actors are going to deliver, So I felt super creatively free with them every single time, every single episode, every single day that I was on set.
Yeah, that's brilliant for sure. What was it like getting to develop Shira's character arc over your episodes?
I think what was so fun, and I think this goes with like anything that you do new, like as a human being, there's just no you don't start thinking like you're gonna fail. It's just like, let me try this, let me try that. Oh, that didn't work. And what then you start discussing with the director, what do you think about this? And so there's almost like this little 5-year-old that got ignited again. Because one, I've never got to play this kind of role before. I had this more of like a meek character. And then two, like the minute that I got on set, I was treated like family. And that's why I think like the show lasted as long as it did, is because, sometimes whenever, shows last like 3 seasons, sometimes there's conflict with it's not a super well-oiled machine. Where The Walking Dead, like that was everything just worked. And you feel welcomed as like I was the new kid at the lunch table, So, and I didn't feel like that. Like I felt totally just added on to this cool group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So of course I asked a bit about before about the freedom from the crew with coming up with the performance for Shira, but what was your process like since you were given freedom with Shira? What was your process like in bringing her to life? Did you draw on any inspirations?
Um, Not necessarily when it came to um like drawing from like another character or another actress. I didn't do that. What I did do is I watched a little bit of how it was interesting because I am playing, I am Shira playing Stephanie. So I had to create within the creation to then be able to deliver that Eugene is believing who this Stephanie is. I know it's a little bit confusing, but that's how I had to process it. Like it's almost I had to kind of sit back and um so what I did was I watched some episodes of how Eugene acted in his, how does he come off? Is he gullible? Is he smart? Is he observant? Is he, and so I started to like have like little like make like little notes on how he was, so then I'm able, as Shira, not Stephanie, I'm able to kind of navigate. Oh, I'm going to say the right things to get what I need from him. I'm going to go take him to get ice cream because he never has tasted ice cream before. So then when he starts liking me, and so I start like setting up these like little traps. Um, that's how I really needed some information from him. And so I attacked the character in that way by kind of watching and see how does Eugene like show up in the world, in this Walking Dead world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. What has it meant for you to be part of the Walking Dead franchise?
It To me, I feel like a little bit a part of history because since it closed and it was on the last season, it walking now. Did you ever read the comics?
Some of them, like with you, I became more of a fan through the shows and games, so
Okay, got it.
not the biggest comic expert.
Okay, gotcha. I'm same there too. But there's such a cult following in some of these shows that like they started from the comic books. So like um I think it means so much that you're being, as an actor, being trusted to be a part of this huge franchise. Like it's very rewarding and very like that. When I get stopped by people, it's either The Walking Dead or Outer Banks. Those are the two people that recognize me from the shows, is definitely Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Are any people, are they ever angry at you for Shira breaking Eugene's heart?
No, I don't think so. They because I think that most people can differentiate like what kind of person I am versus what I played on TV. I have heard like some people like that does not go down on certain other shows. They're like really mad, but I've never experienced that.
Yeah, I think some of the villain actors on The Walking Dead have gotten extreme reactions
Oh
from
yeah.
fans. I
Oh
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think David Morrissey, the governor, once like he came across an elderly woman in a supermarket and she screamed when she saw him or something. You
Oh
know, you
my
know.
gosh.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I remember some kind of story like that, but yeah, it's a very popular show.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a super popular. So I can totally understand, people coming out of the woodwork and, I understand that. But as far as like angry goes, no. I think most fans of most shows are just like, they're kind of in awe of getting to see this person that they are that's on TV. Now, I didn't I wasn't big enough on the show to like have, fans that are in awe of me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like I don't think most fans are like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But let me know if that ever changes
I
and you
will.
get an extreme reaction.
Absolutely, I totally will.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah. So what has it meant? Sorry, what did you enjoy the most about your time working on The Walking Dead? Like, which scene or scenes did you most enjoy filming?
I love being offset with like offset meaning like not filming because you really get to know. So Josh is nothing like Eugene, in my opinion. He is so like he's so I think he like started as a stand-up comedian or he dabbled in like the stand-up comedian world or something like that. I could be wrong, but he's so funny. He talks about his wife so much. And so that was great. I think my favorite scene was whenever I got to do some of the stabbing with the zombies. I think that was probably my favorite.
Yeah,
See how
absolutely.
mentally unstable I am with it just wanting to kill the zombie.
Yeah, yeah. As long as it's zombies and not people, I think we're
Yeah,
safe.
exactly. Right. Right. I think it was fun though because like being able because I don't think that I've ever like had like I've had like bullet wounds and stuff like that on me, but to actually like I think that was fun and to do it as like a meek character, like a meek like shy character. It got to be like it was fun. That was probably my favorite because I think there was a couple of times where we had to go for the community service. We had to go kill zombies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was some fun scenes, especially when Sebastian gets pushed around.
Yeah. Oh my. He was very fun to work with, but I could not stand his character. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, like the Sebastian in the comics and show are quite different, but both still equally hateable for different reasons.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so obviously you got to work alongside brilliant actors on the show. I mean, Josh McDermott, obviously, Josh Hamilton, and many more. I'm not just saying Josh's. Hornsby and Eugene are the first two characters I think of when I think of your characters
oh,
since.
absolutely. Yeah.
you know,
Well, the majority of my scenes were with them.
yeah, and yeah, but obviously many more brilliant actors too. Who were your favorite actors to work with on the show?
I think definitely, Josh. So like I said, I think that those two were I had the majority. Those are the majority that I played with. I had a lot, like there was a couple where I did with Princess, the girl that plays Princess, but not super much. I just learned a lot from Josh Hamilton and then also Josh McDermott because I believe Josh Hamilton came from a theater background and I do not come from a theater background. And then Josh comes from a stand-up. I hope I'm not messing that up. I thought that he started off in stand-up comedy. I could be wrong about that. Anyways, I don't know why it's sticking out of my mind, but I think both of them were my favorite because it was so like relaxed, and then they also have families, so it's just this, showing up to work and doing our thing. There was not any egos anytime that I was on set, but I believe those two were were my favorite. There was one awkward scene, a little bit. Oh, I thought was going to be awkward was whenever we had the kissing scene. That was a little bit, and I wasn't sure how he was going to handle it. And it was so like it was just like, and it because it wasn't like a makeout scene or anything like that, but it was during COVID, and we had to keep on doing the testing, making sure like all of the stuff. So there was a lot of like procedures that had to happen, but I think that's what made it so relaxing is because Josh is like, yeah, we got to do this. I have a wife, you have a fiance, like we're gonna do this. So it just felt very relaxing, like a very comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. COVID, it's only been, it feels like longer than 5 years, but like that must have been really weird filming with that.
Oh my gosh. They had to test us like I 3 times a week. And I live about an hour and a half. So I had to even when I wasn't working, I had to travel an hour and a half just to get tested. Isn't that
What?
crazy?
Yeah, that's insane. Like, I just can't believe that's been 5 years.
I know, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, for sure. So, in The Walking Dead, Shira's fate is left unknown. She basically just disappears without a trace. So like, if you had your way, what would happen to Shira post the events of the show?
So I think the last time that we see Shira is whenever um I do like some martial arts onto Eugene, and then I walk up the stairs and I believe, and then Josh's character handles it from there, and then I walk up the stairs. I think that Shira actually really does have a heart. I don't think she's an evil person. I would love for her to come and ask for forgiveness to Eugene's crew. Um, as, hey, I messed up. I don't want to be a part of this Commonwealth because it does have like this fake mentality over there. That's what I think I would like to happen is to be able to kind of like put my swords away. I want to be a part of something that's real.
Yeah, that would be nice. And
Yeah.
Eugene to reject it.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
um, I'm not sure in the order of filming scenes on the show, but there was Shira did a mission for Hornsby after that with a character called Roman. I think they basically let loose some walkers into the Commonwealth, and it's the events that lead up to Sebastian's spoiler death. So that was actually the last time we see Shira. Roman, the guy she was with, turns up dead an episode later, and Shira, who knows?
Bye. Off into the wilderness.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the last time we see Shira. She's letting some walkers into the Commonwealth
Uh-huh.
in the events that lead up to Sebastian's death, and yeah, disappears after that, gone without a trace.
I will say there was a lot of people on Instagram that messaged me that were confused about how I left because it was so abrupt. So I remember there was a lot of people that are like, what are you doing? Now there has been some angry people on Instagram that are like, what are you doing to Eugene? Not in person, but there are people on Instagram that are that.
Yeah.
So, but I did have a lot of people that asked me like, what happened to you?
Yeah, yeah. Social media is great for that. It's also it's not, toxic, of course, but but it's like, yeah, poor Eugene. But
Thing.
yeah, but yeah, I mean that would be a nice way for Shira to, apologize or whatever, but who knows? I mean they have multiple spin-off shows, so you never know if
Right,
you'll be
right,
asked back.
right. Might be called Woman Number Two. I mean, Shira. I mean, Stephanie. I mean, that's what the title of the show would be.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your favorite memories from your time working on The Walking Dead?
The relationships, um, definitely with Josh. I got closest with Josh just because we spent a lot of time together. And then I loved my favorite memories were I don't know if you've ever been on a production, but they have a studio and they manipulate all of the scenes within the confines of that studio space. And it's really cool to see like a space like transform, from a nighttime garage scene into the ice cream scene that we saw with Eugene. Like it's really magnificent to see that. Um, yeah, I think those were my favorite ones, was to be able to see like the actual set transform, so quickly, in front of the audience never knows. So, but definitely the relationships, those are my favorite memories, I think, of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. What would you say were the biggest challenges you faced working on The Walking Dead?
I think, gosh, there weren't very many challenges. I think like there was a couple of scenes that I had to do some gun handling, that I needed to make sure that I actually looked like I could hold a gun as Shira, and then versus differently holding a gun or a weapon as Stephanie. I had to make sure that I was, wait, who am I again? Okay, I'm Stephanie. Act like you don't know how to hold something. That I was scared to cross those two worlds because technically I'm almost playing like either undercover or like two separate characters, because Commonwealth knows me as this, and then Eugene's crew knows me as this, and then I'm like, that's the one thing that I had to make sure I had to be real tight with.
Yeah, absolutely. On that subject, actually, of the two characters, did you film all of your scenes as Shira and then as Shira pretending to be Stephanie, or is it like a mix? Like sometimes it would be some scenes because I know on TV shows scenes can be filmed out of order. So what we see on the show isn't always how it was filmed. Like,
Yeah.
did you did you do all of like one character scenes and then all of the other version, or like is it like a bit of a mix, I guess?
I think like towards the last couple of episodes, that's whenever we start to reveal, we started to reveal who Shira really is. But there wasn't too much cross. I guess like I'm just thinking also like mentally, because there's character development that I think that at least like I do as an actor, and so there's like scenarios that I play in my own head of like how, scenes that are not even written, but I do it for my own character development. So the crossing, but no, there wasn't. If I filmed Stephanie, the character me Shira playing Stephanie one day, they wouldn't cross too much with me. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure I wasn't. I sometimes I had to look down and see what I was wearing because I was like, wait a minute, who am I again? So.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. I feel like I'd get confused easily as well. I feel like I was confused trying to explain my question.
Yeah, no, but I understood, because you're right. There are a lot of people and characters that we watch on TV that either play undercover, or they're playing a twin, or they're playing, many of different kinds. So I understood what you were talking about. I understood it, right? The answer that I said made sense with your
Yeah,
question.
yeah, made more sense than my question. I'll be honest. But you're absolutely right. There's so many things, and you got superhero shows and films have been multiversal variants. Like, who can keep track of all these,
Oh, I know.
differences?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm glad you made sense of my question anyway. But speaking of superheroes, another role I really liked you in was Heather in The Gifted. What was it like getting to be part of Marvel Comics based shows like The Gifted and Cloak and Dagger?
Oh, that was a very, very fun. That was the first time I got to play a superhero. I've never ever played, any kind of superhero ever before. So there were a couple of times where so my superpower on the show was to teleport. And so I had to but they do all of like that stuff in post production. So to actually do it on set, you have to kind of like even though obviously you're not teleporting or being able to like move things with your fingers, um you have to make it believable. So but that was super fun. I loved that show.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It's like, yeah, I mean, if only we could all, just move stuff with our fingers so easily. It
Oh,
feels like it would solve so many problems.
right. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing if we could do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe one day. Who knows what will
Right,
happen?
exactly. AI is already here, so
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, robots, drones, I mean, Call of Duty predicted 13 years ago the robots would take over the world this year, and it still
oh,
hasn't happened.
I know we're just hanging on.
Yeah. Yeah. You just never know. It's a strange world. Robots, AIs, you know, uh, teleport, might be next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what did you enjoy the most about playing Header and working on the gifted?
I, I really, so I grew up with two brothers and an older sister, and my brothers, like, I love getting into like the dirt, and I'm just a big tomboy, like growing up. And when I got to be a part of where it was like the two guys and me, I loved our dynamic. That was a lot of fun, just knowing that I'm part of this like kind of like cool crew. And I loved like what they did to my hair. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun just like doing the hair and makeup because it was just like a very different kind of like character. But yeah, like I want to say like that those are I loved it goes back to relationships because those are the things like you remember, at least for me. I remember those relationships that I had and all the fun that we had because when you're able to get along with your co-stars, it makes life and work so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So what made The Gifted different from any other production you had worked on? Like what stands out to you about it?
I think, like I said before, I think it was the superhero, which was just super. That I mean, and I didn't really grow up, and I didn't grow up in it, and then I also didn't. I don't really watch shows that are like superhero type of or that kind of like have powers. But being able to play that was so fun. I hope I'm able to do a character like that again.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Keep my fingers crossed for you. I mean, there's so many superhero shows and films that, I mean, surely one of them, at least one of them, has to cast you at some point. There's
Right,
so many.
exactly. Right, totally.
Yeah, yeah, fingers crossed. But outside of The Walking Dead and The Gifted, like we've talked about, obviously you've been in other very popular shows as well, like Outer Banks, you've mentioned, of course, already, The Purge as well. Between those two, Walking Dead and The Gifted, what has it been like to be part of multiple popular shows with sizable roles in them?
Oh, it's so fun. Especially like when you're able, because I think in the ones that you said were The Purge, Outer Banks, Gifted, and Walking Dead, all of those were multiple episodes. So you get to be a part, you start to get to know the people that are lighting you up. You get to know the people, the sound people. You start to like have this dynamic, like, you show up to work and you have all these episodes that you're shooting. So I'm very like fortunate to be a part of like family, this family that's going on, you know? I think that's been my favorite is being a part of that. Obviously, like the actual storyline and the acting and what I get to play, those are like super duper fun. But I've been very fortunate to have very different kinds of characters I get to play. It's not just like one type of character all the time. Even if I am playing, because I do play some like stronger roles as like the detective. It's like different in each one that I get to play, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. What are your favorite memories from any of those four productions? Anything stand out to you?
I any of this, oh gosh, there's so many that I could just. I think, like I said, the superhero for the gifted, just being able to challenge myself, like on set, to like do this, and trusting that it's actually going to happen and look real in post production. Um, the relationships in all of them, and I think for like Outer Banks, that was my first time shooting in Wilmington, which was great because on my days off, like I went paddleboarding by myself. Like that was a really cool city to be in. I really liked being in Wilmington. But yeah, it goes back to like the relationships like with the people and obviously like I love playing like the characters, like I said, but like it's when you get to have like multiple episodes, you keep in contact with all those people, you know, that you shot with for a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah. So, and you've also worked on many other things like Saints and Sinners, Valor, Twisted Metal, Cloak and Dagger, and more. Which have been your favorite productions you've worked on in your career so far?
Yeah, I love Twisted Metal. That was so fun. That was I did an episode of NCIS Hawaii, but it was the credit after that, which was Twisted Metal. That one was so fun because it was based off of a video game that my brothers used to play. So when I said, "Guess what I just got booked on?" And they were like, "What?" I said Twisted Metal. And they were like, "Oh my God." Because they used to play the video game Twisted Metal. And then I was based upon a character that my brothers used to pick in the video games. They used to pick my character. So that one was a lot of fun. And it was I really like playing comedy. I think it's a lot of fun to play comedy. And then you had that like on set there was this like a lot of like crashing cars and stuff blowing up and fire. So I think that one was definitely my favorite. And then also when I got to play with Al Pacino and Hangman, because Al Pacino, I don't know what age range you're at, but Al Pacino was my mom's era. I didn't know that much about Al Pacino except like when my parents would tell me about like Ray Liotta, Al Pacino, that like era. I didn't know it, but then I got to play like with one of the legends in like Hollywood. Like I am so grateful. Thank you. So yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. What was it like working with the legend Al Pacino?
I was early on in my career for that. And my first day on set, I was like, I was freaking out. I was like sweating. I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, calm yourself. You're good. And then I had to really like change my mindset that like this is just a man he has nothing that he has booked nothing. I had to tell myself that because I could not I was so scared that I was gonna mess up in front of him. I mean, I was so and that actually really helped me. When I kind of took him off of this pedestal and he's just a detective that's interviewing me. That was what the scene was. He was a detective interviewing me and I didn't kill my girlfriend. I had to do that for my own mentality, or else I wouldn't have given a I wouldn't have given a believable performance if I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I'd be the same in that position, in that I'd view someone as like another person, in the sense that in even in my own life, I try to not treat people differently, either higher or lower. I just treat everyone equally. So I
Very-
think that's a mentality that makes a lot of sense. Don't put people up really high, but don't also, treat them really bad either.
Absolutely. You know, and I don't understand like whenever people, because at the end of the day, like we're all the exact same, we have the same everything, the same chemical makeup. So I can't, oh, I don't do well with people that treat people lower than, you know. So that's a whole other story.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. We could do a whole interview just on that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So yeah. So, which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far, since you've been part of so many productions?
Yeah. I would say the Purge was a little bit difficult I love the Purge. That one was so fun. But the gun handling and a lot of the like running around that we had to do, um, I had to mentally like prepare myself and then physically too. I was also on the Purge. I was doing I do a lot of fasting, and I was on a 31 day watermelon fast where I was only eating watermelon. So I think that's what also made it a little bit difficult too. Uh because I was having to do all this physical stuff and then also only eating watermelon. Like that was a little bit difficult, but I think the purge was because I wanted to. I don't like whenever I'm watching TV shows and you can tell when a person does not have correct gun handling, and so I wanted to make sure. All right, I know how to handle a gun. I was always asking our gun handler on set because usually most sets that handle guns do have somebody professional saying, "Hold it like this, hold it, don't turn it right here, make sure that you are had the safety on, all that stuff." So I want to make sure I actually like look the part.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, Shell, you've taught me something I never knew before, that there's a whole fasting where you can only eat watermelon. I had no idea that was a thing until just now.
It is the fasting world. It's not really talked about very much, but I've done a lot of fasting. It's just good for your internal body.
Yeah. Yeah, you learn something new every day,
Oh yeah, totally.
yeah, watermelon only, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, new information for me. So my final question for you, Shell, do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects you would like to talk about?
Yeah, you know what? We just finished. So my fiance and I, there was an actor strike that went on. I don't know if you knew about that, but there was an actor strike that slowed the entire industry down. It's still quite slow right now. Um, But during that time, because then after the actor strike, then there was a writer strike. Like there was all these strikes going on. And so we were like, well, we don't want to stop creating. So we wrote a script and we shot it, a whole feature in Iowa. His hometown is in Iowa, and we had a great advantage where his family had some land, and we shot an entire feature over the course of like maybe like 8, 9 months fully. And we just finished post production on it. Our post production team is, I don't know if I know that you're in Dublin, you're not in Atlanta, but Moonshine, they did our post production for it, and we just finished it last month. And so we're submitting it to film festivals.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That sounds fantastic. Best of luck to you and your fiance
Thank
on that.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant, brilliant stuff. So that's all of my questions for you today, Shell. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
So great. It was so great having. Thank you so much for having me. It was really, really great talking to you.
You're welcome, and hopefully we can talk again sometime.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. I'll look forward to talking to you again, Shell. Thanks again for joining us and take care. Bye.
Awesome.